episode of Finding Joy in Your Vestibular Migraine Journey. We are so excited today. We have Heather with Menieres Muse with us today. She is not only a vestibular patient, she's also a VeDA Ambassador. And we met Heather. She has her own YouTube and podcast, Menieres Muse, which I will link in the description below. And so today we're going to interview the interviewer.
Yes, I'm so excited. So Heather, thank you again for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. So let's just dive right into it. And can you tell us about your vestibular journey, how everything began for you?
Sure. Well, it began in 2016. I was working a regular job. I'm a mental health and addictions nurse. And I was doing that 40 plus hours a week, and plus running 3 to 4 fitness classes a night after class. And then also going to school, trying to do the bridge program from LPN to RN to do that. So I've had a little bit of stress, and not to mention my home life of having a 3-year-old and a 16-year-old at home. So that's kind of when it started. And it started for me with just pressure on the right side of my head that would go down the side of my face. And it went on a couple weeks, and I was speaking to my mother about it, and she's like, "You need to go get this checked out. You know that." And of course, as a nurse, I'm like, whatever, I'm fine. So I made a deal. If I had that feeling, anytime the next week, I would go to the hospital and get checked out. And of course, I had that. And I went into the ER, and they ran some tests. And of course, they thought it was anxiety. And then they did MRI. I'm not sure which they did first, MRI or CT. And my story is a little different right now, so I don't want to lose you, but they found what they call a meningioma, a brain tumor, which had nothing to do with my vestibular symptoms at all, which it would have been great because we went on a search to what was causing my symptoms, and here's this little tumor just sitting here doing nothing. It had been there for a while, and it was just a finding, an incidental finding, they call it. So it wasn't causing me any symptoms, and it's small enough they just leave it alone. And it's still there today, hasn't grown at all, and I have no problems. So that just kind of threw me for a loop. But leaving there that day, I had no answers. And of course, getting diagnosed with a brain tumor, your stress kind of amps up. And leaving there with no answers. So I was referred to a neurologist for that, which I also spoke with him about the vestibular symptoms. And my symptoms just started intensifying. Then I started getting vertigo daily, tinnitus. I started having noise sensitivity. There's so many symptoms I had. I actually even had noise-induced vertigo at one point, where they thought I had SCCD, and they did some tests, and that's just another vestibular disorder. Didn't have that. So I went back to my primary care physician, and he had no idea what was going on, but he was determined to figure it out. So he sent me to all these referrals to all these specialists, pulmonologists, cardiologists, pulmonologists. I don't know. There's just so many. I even had went to a bodywork practitioner. And we really got nowhere. We just found out that I had a vitamin D deficiency, magnesium, and B12 deficiency. So, of course, I started on those. And he wanted to send me to Mayo Clinic, to a multidisciplinary clinic, where they have all these doctors look at me and figure out what's going on. So that's what I did. I went there, and I spent 2 weeks going back and forth 6 hours with my mother, trying to figure out, leaving my husband at home with the kids. And then I first got diagnosed with vestibular migraine. And then a couple other practitioners diagnosed me with BPPV and even MDDS. So I was like, I don't know what I have. Getting old. And also autosclerosis. So at least I was getting somewhere. And then that's when I kind of jumped into the groups, trying to learn as much as I can about these disorders. And by this time my vertigo was nonstop for 6 months. I had to take a leave of absence from work, and I just kind of became a shell of myself. Before that, I was really outgoing and kind of like person that got everybody together and did all that. But yeah, things changed. I just kind of hid in my room and would take showers and cry quietly to myself, trying to figure out what the heck I was going to do. And then I found a couple groups, and some of them, they fed into my anxiety, and I had to leave those groups. But I found one called Mummy Seeing Double, and she was more positive, and she was honest and raw about what was going on with her life as living with a vestibular disorder. And so I reached out to a couple people there, and then I learned about the Heal Your Headache diet. I'm like, I'm going to try anything. So I went gung ho. And no, I didn't do the whole 6 months that it requires you doing the elimination, but I did do 3 months. And then I slowly started bringing things back in, and how my world changed with that. I never realized how many triggers you could have.
Yeah.
Even today, if I walk by, my daughter's eating M&Ms or something, and I pop 1 or 2 in my mouth, I instantly sway, even if it's just briefly. But that just shows me that I have those triggers. Yeah. So where was I going with that? So that happened. And then I just started from the darkness of my room, just trying to figure out what was going on. And I think the more I read on Google, the more depressed I got. And I just kind of threw my hands up at that point. And then I was visited by a friend of mine that kind of changed everything. She came into my room where my drapes were drawn, and it was just dark. There was no sound. And when she left that day, she turned around. I hope I don't cry. And she said to me, I guess you're going to have to learn, or you're going to have to dream another dream. And sorry.
No, it's okay.
That hit so hard because my husband and I had dreamed so long on selling our home and buying a sailboat. And when she left, it was like she hit me in the stomach. But man, it was the best thing ever, because I sat there and I'm like, wow, I never thought of not having my dreams. Just give me one second.
That's okay.
Well, when she left, I had a talk with my husband that night, and I said, you know what? I got to get out of this bed. I've got to figure out how to live with these symptoms.
Yeah.
And I had no idea what I was going to do or how I was going to do that. And I just prayed, and I'm like, okay, it's going to fall in my lap, and I'm going to figure out what I'm going to do next. And someone dropped something into my inbox. It was Gabby Bernstein. And I picked up her book right away, and I started learning about meditation, which I had never meditated in my life. I'm like, I can't sit still that long. So I learned about that, and I started implementing that and journaling, and then yoga came. And I still have symptoms. I still have symptoms today, but they're so much less than they ever were. I haven't had vertigo in, 3 months. I still am dizzy. Every day I have symptoms, but I live with it. And a little over 3 years ago, we did sell our house, and we did buy that sailboat, and we didn't know if I'd be able to do it. We said, we'll give it 6 months. If you can't live on the water, if I can't live on the water, it's my husband talking, we'll move back to land, and we never look back. I have symptoms on the water just like I have on land, and they don't intensify for me. I know some people can't do that, but that's for me. I was able to do that. So now we're living kind of a nomadic lifestyle, and so that's where I am.
You've been told, you have this vestibular disorder.
Yep.
And you're going through, okay, I may not get to live my dream. While you're going through this initial phase, kind of like we've all gone through, how did this impact your family life? what happened with that with the kids and a husband and working? Yeah.
You know, the family thing, my husband, he's amazing. I would not have been able to to do anything. He's just a very patient man. And we adapted. We adapted. Once we knew how my body was reacting to the vertigo, he had to return to work because I took I took FMLA and ultimately ended up losing that position. But so he had to return to work, and I just figured it out. That's not to say I had a 3-year-old still at home, and I remember days, and this might sound crazy, but I remember days I would put her in the bathtub, empty bathtub with her toys, just so I could lay on the floor and just go through this vertigo, this floor hugging vertigo that I had. And she was content. She was completely content, but you just figure it out. And I had to learn to self-compassion. Because we beat ourselves up and that guilt. And I had to really step back and learn to love myself as I am and not hate my body, because I did. I hated I wasn't recognizing my body anymore. I couldn't do the things I wanted to do. I couldn't exercise. A burpee. I hate burpees, but I was missing them, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So thank goodness I had a supportive husband, and the kids just kind of went with it. Even the kids know today, if I'm having symptoms, my daughter will ask me if I want my earplugs or if she's being too loud, because I have hyperacusis also. And she is one of my biggest triggers, that little squealing voice of hers. So just, it's adapting, and just for, having that self-compassion, I think, that you have to do.
I just feel like so much I can relate to your story, just I'm sure Joy too, just
Yeah.
that moment where you come to terms with it, where you have to finally face it. And I just, yeah, I admire your story and your courage, and because it's so hard in those times to keep going, and to find the positive aspects. And journaling helped me a lot too.
Yes.
It really started to turn things around. So
Yeah,
I'm so glad you did that.
the journaling, and not only journaling for myself, but also I had a symptom journal, and I didn't know where to start, because I'm like, well, I don't know how to do a symptom journal. So I just wrote the symptoms I had, and when new symptoms would come on, I'd add those. And then if I noted, I ended up adding nutrition, elevated stress, and then I would see a pattern and what was causing my personal symptoms. They're different for everybody. And of course, at the beginning, I did take medication to help me with that vertigo. That's the only way I was able to get through that 6 months. Yeah. But I'm medication free today. So that's a good thing.
That's great.
That's
So I know
amazing.
you're still in the journey, you're still learning, but what are some things that you have learned so far along the way?
I will tell you, one of the biggest things I learned, and it's so, people sometimes misconstrue this when I say it, but surrendering. When I have those symptoms, I do not fight them anymore. I used to fight, and I just surrender, and like, okay, I take a breath, and I'm like, then I go through a checklist in my head, and I think you guys do something similar to this. Okay, did I eat right? Did I
Yeah.
have my water? Did I sleep?
Yes.
Everything, to see, okay, this is why I'm having this, and I take responsibility now. I know there's a lot of controversy out there on this, but I really believe a lot of this I have more control over than I give myself credit for. Now, I'm not talking about like the barometric pressure. I obviously have no control over that. With my Menieres, it kills me. But for the most part, I can function. But I had to really clear my plate of all that stress, and take an honest look and get rid of people in my life that I didn't need that extra stress. Life's stressful enough. Need to move forward and surrender, and just look at how you can live your best life with these symptoms. It sucks,
Yeah.
sucks being behind closed doors. You
Yes.
know, lonely.
Yes. And having the positive attitude, even when you don't want to have it, you know, we can't, let's be real, we're not positive every day. We go through
No.
this.
Yeah.
But what are some of the positive aspects that you've learned on this journey? You know,
Well, I will tell you that it is hard. It's hard to be positive every day, and you can't. It's just even though I try to present that, but I like to tell people that, you know, yeah, a lot of people come to me just to boost them up, to get them looking on the other side, because it's a lonely journey. Um, but I think you need that. I think we need the community to say, you know what? Yeah, it sucks today, but tomorrow's another day. You need to just surrender today and just take it easy, take a break, give yourself that grace, what you guys often say. And and it's okay. I also do something too when I'm having a really crappy day. I'll go back through old posts of mine, and I'll read them. I'm like, whoa, those are my words. And that's encouraging and uplifting. And I know that I was in a dark place once, and I've come out of it, and I might be there again, but I know that I have my vestibular sisters and brothers that I can lean on when I'm having a crappy day. And a lot of them I have never ever met. Well, the majority I've never ever met in person, but we understand, we get it. And yeah.
So important. I did that a couple months ago too, when I was having a rough time. I looked back at some of the first videos that Joy and I just started doing.
Yes.
And I'm just like, wow, you know, because a year ago, I couldn't even look at my phone, you know? And it was
Right.
like, wow, we did this, you know? And
Yeah.
just, or like you just looking back at some of the things that you've done, you've been able to accomplish. And so that, that's reassuring. That helps in those hard times.
Does. Really does. I know that I pulled back from social media and posting a lot when I started feeling better. I guess you would call it like a survivor's guilt. But then I felt like I was missing something. And so I spoke to one of my vestibular family members, I guess. And she's like, Heather, you're missing something because you're not sharing your story. There's so many people out there. She told me, think back when you started this, there was nobody out there. You were alone. People need to hear your story, even if you're not 100%, or, you know, and just kick that survivor's guilt to the corner, because people need to hear you. They need to hear your story, Marissa, and yours, Joy, and all of ours. Even though we're not on the other side of that, we're not healed. But look, we're communicating and we're living the best lives we can. And I think we need to reach out more and lift each other up for those reasons, you know?
It's a community. It's definitely a community that we have within the vestibular warriors.
Yes. I don't know what I'd do without that community.
Yes, definitely. So Heather, is that kind of then how you decided to become a VeDA ambassador?
Yes.
At that point,
Mummy C and Double, that group I spoke of earlier, Laura, who is the founder of that group. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with her. I was sharing my story with her and with others, and she kind of pushed me to go to the VeDA website and to look into sharing more and maybe becoming a VeDA ambassador. And I'm like, okay, I can do this. I would love this, you know? So so I jumped in, and I do what I can for the community, and I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love reaching out, and I love when people reach out to me and have those questions, and I'm like, okay, I get this. And we're all different, but you know, we're all on the same path, you know? Just
coming up in 2023. What is Heather doing in 2023?
Wow, let's see. Well, along with the Menieres Muse podcast, which I try to put out things weekly. I have a guest weekly. It's been kind of slow over the last couple months because I ran into a little bad patch myself. So, which happens with us vestibular warriors. We have to get back on track every once in a while. But I'm going to be traveling a lot, and I hope this is crazy, but I hope to meet a lot of the vestibular warriors on the road. I would love that so much.
Wow.
Yeah, so we're gonna we live in Florida, but we travel either by sailboat or by our RV, and we're gonna go up the East Coast of the US and come across the northern states. So I've already spoken to a couple of vesties to reach out to and connect with. So yeah, that's
Gosh,
what I'm
I
gonna
love that. That would be
do. Yeah,
exciting.
That's
I love
exciting.
it. I know. So that's what just gonna keep pushing forward with Menieres Muse and doing what I can to bring awareness with VeDA. I need
Years Muse, kind of when you became an ambassador, like how did you start Menieres Muse and the podcast and all that?
I became an ambassador, I believe, in 2017 after I started feeling better. I wasn't 100%, but something kept tugging at me for the last couple of years. And I had a talk with a friend who runs her own podcast on a totally different platform. It's like, you totally need to do this, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, well, I can't do that.
Yeah.
And it just kept nagging at me. And I'm like, okay, I'm setting a date. I said February 2022. There's no reason not to. And I just really jumped out of my comfort zone and here we are. So
yeah, that's so
Yeah.
cool.
That's how it starts. You think, I can't do that. No way I can put myself on video, talk about my story.
I
And
know. And I'm not one that takes a lot of selfies. And so it was really a big jump out of my comfort zone, but I love it because we're sharing stories, similar to what you're doing here. It's great.
Encouragement can you offer to that person out there right now that's struggling and they're in that dark place? What can you tell them?
To not give up and just be patient with yourself. I think the biggest thing I learned from all of this is patience. And it's in a weird, twisted way, these crazy symptoms have been a godsend to me. They really made me slow down and look at my life. Because I was blowing through it so fast. I mean, the busier my calendar was, the happier I was, but I wasn't really happy. I just thought I was happy. But I was busy, so I thought I was being productive and I was missing out on a lot. And yeah, so in a weird twisted way, it's kind of saved my life. And yeah. But yeah, just to be patient and life's tough and just figure it out. Figure out how to live a good life, a beautiful life, because you can, despite all these crazy symptoms.
Yeah, I love that.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's encouraging. That's really encouraging because we all need that encouragement.
It's challenging. It's not easy. It takes a lot of trial and error, but you can do it.
Yeah.
You just have to change your perspective, really.
Yeah. I loved on your YouTube, your podcast, how you asked your guests some fun facts, quick fire questions. So we wanted to ask you some questions today. So
Yes.
let's see here, Heather. Okay, the first one. Okay. If you could be any animal, which one and why would you want to be that animal?
If I could be any animal, which one and why? Wow, that's hard. I love the water, so my first thought was a dolphin because they frolic and they have fun and they're just themselves, they're just free.
Yeah.
So I guess I'd have to go with dolphin. That was unexpected.
Yeah. And our next one is, do you have any hobbies?
Hobbies. Oh my gosh. I guess homeschooling is not a hobby, even though it seems like it lately. Hobbies. Well, I love fishing, believe it or not, and just anything water related. Just love it.
Yeah.
Learning to paint with my daughter, and we're both actually taking guitar right now, so it's kind of scary at this point, but we'll see. It's fun doing things with her now that we keep her. She's 9 and we homeschool her, so she likes me to do everything she does. So I'm learning a lot.
Yeah.
Learning as you're teaching. I love that.
Yeah.
Speaking of guitar, what type of music do you like?
Oh, it just depends on my mood. I married, I married a rocker, from the big hair bands from high school. So I like everything from rock to Jack Johnson, and then sprinkle in a little country because I'm just from the South. So I don't know. That's a hard one. Just depends on my mood.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I like everything, even classical,
Yeah.
even Nina Simone sometimes. So I'm
I
all
like
over
a
the
little bit of everything too.
Me too.
Okay, what skill would you like to master?
goodness. That's a tough one. What skill would I like to master? Hmm. Well, I don't know if you guys know this about me, but I'm also an audiobook narrator, and I would love to have a studio and do that all the time. I love it.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's so cool.
Yes. So I mean, if I had a skill that I would love to broaden my horizons and my voice acting. So
Oh,
yeah.
that's so interesting because I listened to so many audiobooks when I couldn't watch
Mhm.
anything. I love just listening to everything. So that's
No,
so
and it's so
cool.
crazy. Well, I got into it because I'm like, okay, I'm stepping down from nursing. What can I do where I can do it from home? And I started looking at accounting, and I started doing some classes online. I'm like, oh, this is so boring. Ugh, no, I don't need it. So I put in my earbuds. I'm like, wait a minute, her voice, I can do this. So I just learned as much as I could on it, and I just did. I've done 11 books so far. One of them is one of them I did just for charity, and it's about Menieres. I'll have to share that with you guys. It's a fantastic book.
Okay.
Even if my reading's not great, the book is wonderful. So I'll share that with you ladies because it's so good.
I love that. What is the one place you traveled to that has, is just close to your heart? It sounds like you love to travel. What is just that one place for you?
That one place, well, I would, before last year, I would say the Keys because I just love everything about water down there. But I have fallen in love with the Pacific Coast. I have fallen in love with Oregon and the mountains, and it's just and the I don't know, it's just a different country that I'm used to up there. So that's a hard question for me because I'm a water girl at heart. So I love the Keys and the Bahamas, but um yeah, but I'm drawn to the calmness and the weather changes up there.
That's
All right.
interesting. Yeah, that's really interesting.
Great.
Yeah, I was going to ask you a bonus question. One
Uh-oh.
place, we're talking about traveling. What is the dream spot you want to go to that you have not been to?
Oh,
It's a good one.
yeah, that is a good one. Gosh, and it's so close. It seems so silly, but I would love to go to Alaska. I would love to spend some time there and do some fishing and
Mhm.
do off the beaten path things, in the
Yeah,
water.
that would be cool.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So I know that's the first thing comes to mind.
So wonderful that you travel and do all this because I know for me and I think Joy that we're kind of nervous to travel again,
We're still
to get on
nervous.
the airplane and
I get that. Yeah. I'll tell you, the first time I traveled by airplane was, I want to say like 10 months in. And I'm like, I know I can't walk through the airport. And I was too proud to ask for a wheelchair, but I did. I did. I finally got there. I'm like, I can't do this, but I want to go. I want to go be with family. So and I'm saying this because I think sometimes we are too proud. And
Right.
I got the wheelchair and they escorted me all the way through the airport. And I will tell you a bonus in this. Your family gets escorted with you. So not only do you get to the front of the line, but you go all the way to the airport, all the way through the airport. So I was like, wow, that's great. So that was my
That
first
is
thing.
great.
Even
Yeah.
the next thing
Mm.
was a road trip. I just said, we're going to try it. What's the worst thing can happen? I'll just be sick. We'll just pull over more often. But I did great. And it just can't hold you back, guys. Is
Yeah.
you're here. You gotta try it. If it scares you, do it anyway. If you can't do it, your body's gonna tell you. But if you can, oh right, then I'll be celebrating there with you, you know?
Yeah.
It is scary, but what's scarier is never leaving these four walls and not living life.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing is that with these symptoms, I still planned on, I'm sorry, not with these symptoms. When we were in dream mode, I still planned on working. We were just going to move to a sailboat, travel for a couple months out of the year, and then I would still be working. But with these vestibular symptoms, and me losing my job, it shifted. So now all we do is travel, and then I stop for 2 or 3 months, and then I'll work, and then we'll continue traveling. So that's another thing these crazy symptoms have given me, the okay to be free and have that freedom. You know what I mean? You can't let fear hold you back. I did that
That's
for
good advice too. Yeah.
And fear is such a big part of this. It's such a big part. Anytime your symptoms act up, it just hits you, like going back to that place again. And you have to tell yourself,
Scary.
you're not, you got this. You can get through this. You know what to do now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you start to doubt yourself, lean on one of your vestibular families and say, I can't get out of this funk.
Yeah.
I've been there. I've been there. I mean, I just had to take a hiatus for a couple months because I was not in a good mental place. And it happens, you backslide, and you just need those real friends that are gonna coddle you a little bit, but then kick you in the butt to get you back out there, because
Yeah.
life can be beautiful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love
that's
that.
lovely. Thank you.
Yeah, I know. I've been encouraged just listening today. And
I
talking.
know. Yes, you're very
Wonderful.
encouraging. Thank
Yes.
Well, that's great. Well, it takes time, and it doesn't happen overnight. And that's another thing. It just got to be patient. And yeah, I mean, I know we all want that quick fix, but it doesn't happen like that.
Yeah.
A lot of it is mental, and we have to be in that right mental space. However, whatever it takes you to get there. Mine is reading and just absorbing as much as I can. And that will be something I do the rest of my life. It's just who I am, you know, just absorb, just improve, and do what I can.
Yeah.
So
Continual improvement.
that's it.
All you can
That's
do. Do your
Yep.
best. Yeah. Well, I appreciate, and we appreciate you coming on. We're so excited to have you as a
Heather.
guest.
Thank you so
so
much for
good.
having me. I'm sorry, I bawled. Oh my gosh, I cry easily, and I'm
No, those are our true feelings with this.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Yeah. We appreciate you coming on. And where can everybody find you on your YouTube, your podcast? Where can they find you?
Well, you can find me on any platform where podcasts are. I will tell you my favorite, and I don't even know if you guys know this, but if you're listening to podcasts, but Audible just started putting podcasts out. And what I love about Audible is you can bookmark places. Like if you want to come back, love it. But anyway, I'm on Anchor or any podcast, Apple Podcast, as Menieres Muse, and also on YouTube as Menieres Muse. And then I have a personal, Instagram, Menieres Muse. It's just all Menieres Muse. And then I have a personal page if anybody wants to follow our travels, which is My Yummy Messy Life. So, and reach out if you want to. And just do you, and just keep your head up.
Well, thank you. We'll link all of those in the video so anyone can find them in the description. And be sure to check Heather out. And we appreciate everybody watching, tuning in, and we hope everybody finds joy in their vestibular journey.
Yes, keep the journey going. And thank you, Heather, again for being with us.
Thank
you, everyone.
Thanks, ladies.
Bye.
Bye.